So last night was another loop session like the month prior. Holy f***. I was able to make something that I'm really impressed with despite having the odds stacked against me. If you don't know what a loop sessions is, it's where a bunch of producers come together to all flip a surprise sample that no one knows of beforehand in under 3 hours before they have to get up in front of everyone and perform it. They're free, open to the public, and welcoming of all genres and levels of expertise, so I implore you to go to your nearest major city that hosts them and attend. Last night's sample was provided by a local artist and producer named Predrift. The source material that we all had to remix this time were the stems from their latest single called Floating Along. It's a gorgeously saturated synth instrumental that feels hopeful and like a happy adventure. Predrift was also kind enough to offer a supplementary folder filled with field recordings, but I was so inspired by the single that I didn't even listen to it. I feel like I might have missed out though, because pretty much every single other person at Loop Sessions pulled from there, most notably the sound of a vacuum. But I was having fun, feeling inspired, listening to the single Where to Drop the Needle to rip from. It was turning out to be one of those sessions that felt effortless. I printed and recorded the first kick, snare, hat pattern that came to mind. It felt really cool and fit. I used a few DAWs in tandem, most notably Machine and FL Studio, and I noticed that FL Studio was acting kind of weird, but I didn't think much of it. Normally I'm a tactless maximalist through and through who throws way too many instruments, melodies, rhythms, harmonies at a project until I've successfully overwhelmed and stressed out my listener. But on this one, for whatever reason, I really resonated with it the more I pulled away from the original source material. By stripping away elements, I found a groove that I just really liked and I went with it. I think around the minute mark, Predrift hits the kick 3 times, and for whatever reason that just clicked with me and gave me okay, this is where you need to rip from. So I decided to loop that, strip everything away first, kicks, saturate them till they sound like 808s. About an hour into the evening session, a couple friends stop by, we catch up, we're chatting. By the time I turn around to get back to my project, FL Studio has decided I'm no longer the owner of the software I purchased and that I'm no longer allowed to open any saved project anymore or use the program further. Great, so I'll just log online, get my registry key again, maybe update some stuff, and be back on my way. No, my FL Studio account seems to have evaporated too, so now I just can't get back in. I'm not able to contact support, nothing. I lost all my work. So now all my work is gone and I was really loving how it was sounding. I could have rebuilt it, but it was all in the moment. I really wanted to preserve what I had in that project file that it was no longer allowed to open, but it was lost unless I rebuy the program, so fuck that. I simply resorted to my old ways and took to scouring the internet for a cracked version of Pirate that wasn't riddled with malware and viruses. That took almost 2 hours. By the time I successfully pirated the software I already own and paid for, there was only 30 minutes left in the session. Normally I just make the beats at these sorts of things, but the last loop sessions I was at that I made a video like this for, it utilized an acapella, and I was really inspired by that, so I went looking to see if I had one that happened to be 80 BPM as well. It turns out that I did, but it just so happens to be for a song that appears on my next record, and it also happens to be some of the most brutal and aggressive music I've ever made in my life. Great, let's just throw that in there and see how it fits, and holy fuck, the results were truly fucking mind-blowing. Aggressive vocals and an 8-bit chiptune vibe are two worlds that I've always had a love and affinity for that I've wanted to put together, but I've never really had the chance. I'm even sitting on a batch of instrumentals that I've made to tinker with in this way, but this set of circumstances in this evening pretty much forced my hand to prototype that sound, and I am so f***ing over the moon about how good it sounds. The distorted ass vocals of mine on this track are from a song called Governmentally Insane. The whole record should be done mixing in a few weeks. That song is pretty much hardcore punk with hip-hop production and metal influence, but on this lush synthscape of a rap beat, it sounds right at home. That's 2 months in a row now that I go to a loop sessions and end up with a product that I'm blown away by. Whether it was luck, providence, or destiny, I don't know. But if the challenges and hurdles didn't rise the way they did, I probably wouldn't have this absolute f***ing heater that I'm super stoked about right now. A part of me is hesitant to reveal the vocals of a song I've written that I'm putting my all into that isn't done or complete or out yet, and then reveal it on another song that just so happens to fit and inspire me. Part of me is wondering if I even have the right to remix or release something before its original form is even out, but at my core I know I need to shut the fuck up and get out of my own way. If I'm gonna be broke and audienceless, then I need to stop internalizing the industry parts of this world that don't allow me to do do whatever the fuck I want. There are no rules to art. I own every aspect of everything I do, so why the fuck not mutate my creations into superpositioned monstrosities and release them all into the world to experience their own little lives however they see fit. Oh, speaking of loop sessions, before I play you the beat, last month's entries were featured on an online series called The Beatcast. Thanks to Elena and Tigri for making that connection. I couldn't catch the stream live, but I just watched the YouTube video. It was a lot of fun.
This is Wettworker.
That's a name, boy.
Jesus Christ. Hey, this shit is pretty hard, man.
Brother, it sounds like it exists in the same universe as props music. Like it's just like industrial.
Yeah.
The top of that's that crazy T-1000 fight music.
That shit.
He makes really, really cool stuff. Like, he's original. If you check out his work, it's just the way he does like videos and music, and he has his own like look and the way he performs. Like, it's just, he has like this whole personality going on.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah,
that shit matches the sound. I like that shit. You know, kind of unique. Keep that shit going.
It was rad being up there with all the local loop sessions cats. It felt like an online field trip with all your producer cousins. Before I had the chance to catch the episode, I had the pleasure of playing Helldivers with the hosts Selena and Alan. There was this hilariously awkward moment where Al was being super nice and complimenting the shit out of my production, but my ADHD and Apex survival skills were in overdrive and I didn't hear a fucking word he said. It wasn't even until there was this like long awkward silence that I clued in and realized maybe there was some things that were happening other than bugs on the screen trying to eat me, and then maybe I should be paying the attention. Sorry about that, Al. Thank you for the kind words, even if I only probably caught a couple of them long after you stopped saying them. But the Beatcast was super cool. It was really awesome seeing all this talent from all over the world flip the same sample like we do at loop sessions. My brain could hardly compute all the breadth and depth of all those styles and talents. It was so much fun. My favorite was probably Al's though, and I'm not just saying that because I ghosted you on compliments. That beat was legitimately buttery as It was also pretty rad to hear their guest Section 2 talk about their experience at writing camps. Actively seeking out community teamwork and mentorship programs has been like one of the best parts of my life over these last couple of years. So I didn't know songwriting camps existed, so if you have any resources or directions to put me in, please let me know. I'd be grateful. Also, there was this bit in that episode where they dunked on Konami, and I thought that was dope. They did Hideo Kojima fucking dirty. He isn't even mentioned on the Masters collection of Metal Gear Solid, so yeah, I'm right with you guys. So here you go, some vocals to a song that isn't done yet, and Predrift single floating along, on top of some of the most minimalist hip-hop production I've ever done, let alone in under an hour due to technical malarkey. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Konami, long live fresh beats. Peace.